Welcome to Petal to the Metal Gardening, where in our last video, we built a small koi pond with a wraparound garden bed that continues to be in full bloom throughout the entire season. And today, we're heading up to the deck to refresh these railing planters that held ranunculus earlier this spring. But before we dive in, I wanted to show you a few large pots I've already planted to give you an idea of the variety I'm going for today. These pots were actually a gift, and they are perfect for this space, adding even more color to the front of our house. Now let's go through what's going into today's mix. First we have caladium, large bold leaves that add colorful foliage and fill up space fast. Next are the yellow flowered melampodium, compact and cheerful blooms that last all summer. Then we've gotten bubblegum pink petunia hybrids, bright trailing flowers for a big pop of color. And finally, two vines to spill over the sides. Vinca vine with fresh variegated leaves, and a purple sweet potato vine for rich, dramatic contrast. That gives us 5 different plants in each of the 3 planters. But before we start planting, let's gather our tools, supplies, and set up our planting station. Clearing the spot here, I needed to move these English daisies to the side, along with this large ceramic pot. Since this pot doesn't have a drainage hole, the water just sat in there and rotted the flowers. But that's something I'll have to deal with later. So for now, I'm going to gather all the flowers and remove their tags so that they'll be ready to be planted. After bringing all the flowers over and removing the tags, I'm moving my potting soil closer, which I'll later use to fill in any gaps as needed. Now that we have everything we need, it's time to remove any debris left over from the ranunculus, like stems and roots, while loosening up the soil. Our next step is to place all the flowers in the container and decide on the layout. I'm putting the vines in the front on each side so that they could spill over and trail down. In the middle, I'm leaving space for the melampodium, which won't block the petunias, and caladium in the back since those will grow taller as the season goes on. Once everything looks good, it's time to take the flowers out of their containers and start getting some roots in the soil. Once everything was planted, I decided to add a decorative accent. I had a set of aqua balls that weren't being used and they could fit perfectly in any empty spots. With the box complete, it's time to put it back in its original place, grab the next one, and repeat the process. As I started laying out the flowers in the second planter, I debated whether to copy the pattern across all 3 or do something different for each. In the end, I decided to keep the pattern the same, but next year I might mirror the 2 sides and mix things up in the center planter. I would have done that for this year, but I didn't have enough variety, and it was better to keep everything consistent based off of all the flowers that I already had. the second planter completed, it's time to move on to the final one. Surprisingly, this planter still had some ranunculus with green leaves, but they still needed to be removed and the soil loosened to make room for the new flowers. Planting the final caladium and adding the finishing touches, we are finally done putting together all 3 planters. Now that we've finished our last task and all the flowers are watered, that's all I have for you today, and thank you for watching.